it was time to get our week off, or not our week off, our Friday off to its final day of the week. Give me a moment to push all the buttons and get all the things turned on so that we can continue to do what we've been doing since, what was it, August? I'm not exactly sure when we started to broadcast Fridays for the whole world to see, but it's exciting that we're taking the opportunity to do so. Now, if you haven't noticed, or you haven't known, or you haven't learned, Facebook is about to stop letting us archive our live videos on Facebook. So what does that mean? Doesn't mean much to you. What it does mean, as a small courtesy to me, I want you to make sure that you go to our YouTube channel, Insurance, Life, and Everything in Between, and hit the subscribe button so that you can come back and look at these trainings in the future if you need to. I know a lot of people watch on Facebook, which is awesome. The interaction is great. The comments are greatly appreciated, but very soon Facebook is going to start to take down live feeds, and you're going to want to make sure that you're subscribed to the YouTube channel to catch these on demand whenever you like. Insurance, Life, and Everything in Between. So it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Talk about one of the most challenging things for a self-employed small business owner and entrepreneur to remember. Well, in all fairness, it's just as important to remind the self-employed insurance agent that they themselves are also a small business owner and an entrepreneur. But let's think about it. And I want you to think about it, and not only just think about it, but carry it into the field and onto the phones today. It's not how you start, but how you finish. It, of course, could have easily been the biggest Monday of your career this week or any week. That's awesome. It could have been absolute garbage from Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Or maybe this week was just another normal week for you. Regardless, how you finish today isn't just about today. It's the energy, inspiration, or attitude that you carry into the weekend. And it's the energy, inspiration, and attitude that you carry immediately into Monday. Why is it that most people that don't work on Friday don't work on Monday? It's because it's how you finish is far more important than how you start. Now, of course, I'd be hypocritical to say otherwise. Starting still matters. Duh, right? Working Monday still absolutely matters. We've seen massive growths in production because people are starting their week on Monday. They're putting a full faith effort into the entire week. They're trying to capitalize on all 45 hours available to them. But I still really want you to think and act on the fact that Friday matters more. I'm going to share a few tips with you this morning on how to make sure that you make money today. And then I'll turn the mic over to Adam to discuss how to bust out of a slump. Because the best way to bust out of a slump is what? To go sell insurance today. If you sit around, watch Netflix, never get out of your pajamas, and just sit back angry over your life, guess what's going to happen? Absolutely nothing. The situation will be the exact same situation day after day after day. But if you get up and try to do something about it, odds are at least something is going to fall into your lap. But before we get into that this morning, I wanted to make sure to shout out and thank Shannon and Ricky for covering yesterday's call. And each and every one of you that are on today or in some form or fashion have contributed to our agency's production and made an impact in families' lives across the country. I posted it in the group chat yesterday, but in case you guys missed it, we've done close to $60,000 in combined premium in just a few short weeks. Over $60,000 in production on just one product. I think sometimes it can easily be mistaken when you're in a Spartan army of producers that you may not be producing that much. Yeah, well, it's a really big number, and I want you guys to be proud of that. And again, thank each and every one of you who contributed to that number by buying leads, investing in yourself, and investing in the activity necessary to produce said premium. Because here's the fact. There are countless places you can go to pick up a contract. That's a reality of the industry. There's thousands of lead vendors you can buy. There's all kinds of on-demand training you can watch, pay for, whatever. But you've chosen to partner up with a proven system and that produces millions of dollars of premium year after year after year. an agency that is qualified for the SBLI trip as an agency, not on my own, but on your collective efforts. And because you believe and you recognize and you acknowledge an old African proverb that you can go fast alone, but you can go way further together. So here are a few ways this morning that you can make sure that you finish strong and make money. Number one, down and dirty, plain and simple, as Don Francisco would say, ground and pound approach. Route 25 to 30 of your leads together. I don't care if they're from this week or last decade. Route 25 to 30 leads together. MapQuest route planner, route for me, doesn't matter. Leave your home and go to these homes. If you're selling over the phone, put all the leads you have possible together, run them through Kixie or Convoso, and work. Regardless of if you have any appointments today, appointments are a privilege. Regardless of what your calendar says, you control the fate of what the day says when it's over. Ground and pound your way through 25 doors or 300 to 400 dials, depending on how you're selling. And I promise you, if you dial your way through 300 to 400 times or 25 doors, you're going to give 4 presentations. If you don't, there's a problem that you and I need to fix together. And from those 4 presentations, you're going to sell 1 person. And if you don't, you and I need to spend some time together and figure out how to tune up your skills. So what's that going to say? That's going to say that you got what you wanted out of today, or you need a little bit of help to get where you're trying to go. No shame in either one of those. Because here's the thing. If you had a job, regardless of how much you made, you would have to show up today, right? If you had a job and you were employed by somebody else, that somebody else would say to you, you have to work 50 Fridays out of the year for me, and I'll give you an average wage for that time. All I'm asking you to do today is do it for yourself. 2, here's the second way that you could put money in your bank account, excuse me, by your efforts today. Call, text, and contact 25 to 30 of your current clients and offer them or tell them that you need to schedule today your spring review, annual review, or whatever kind of review you need to call it to get in front of them. Say it. Let them know that they may have qualified for an additional $5,000 of coverage. You just need to verify that they're not now bedbound, that they haven't become terminally ill, and they're just as good looking as the last time you saw them. Little humor helps. Once you are in the home, build back the trust, pull up the information you already have, and write them more insurance. You can almost guarantee that if you saw that person in the past, they don't have enough insurance for today. And I guarantee if you've been in this business 9 months or longer, you can extract $10,000 to $15,000 of premium out of your book of business by just simply doing spring reviews. Guess what? If you don't, they're going to buy from somebody else. And I can promise you, by simply contacting these 25 to 30 people, one of them is going to say this to you. You know, Aaron, I was thinking about getting more insurance anyway. Well, that's ironic. I was thinking of selling you more insurance today. Don't say that. I've done it before. I'm not telling you this because it seemed like a good idea and I had to have something to say. It's because it works. Number 3, how can you make sure that you put money in your bank account today and you capitalize on ending strong? In the process of doing number 1, which is ground and pound approach, dialing through 300 or knocking through 25 doors, introduce yourself to everybody you see in that market, on the porch, in the elevator, in the senior center activity room, in the hallway. Strike up a conversation with the right person and you'll write business. That rhymes and it's kind of true. I didn't even realize that until I just said it out loud. Strike up a conversation with the right person and you'll write business. And that one's going to feel better than any other one you've possibly written before. I promise. Next, in the presentation itself, shut up. Like, stop talking so much. Be an active listener. You're there to help them get where they're trying to go. Make it about them and not about you. Put the people ahead of the premium. Lead them where they want to go. Remind yourself that they filled out a form requesting information about insurance, either on Facebook or through the mail. and the lead-in clearly states they will be contacted by an agent. One-to-one consent is a good thing because it reminds you they know that you're going to contact them. It doesn't matter what other crap they say in that in-between. They made an appointment with you or let you in the home or picked up the phone. Now it's your responsibility to get the job done. The only way you stay in a sales slump is to stay idle, plain and simple. The only way you stay in a sales slump is to willfully do all of the things that you know are self-sabotaging your chance of ever possibly breaking loose. And the only way you stay in a sales slump, in my opinion, is continuing to practice what we heard this week at the conference, BCD. What is that? Well, pretty simple. Blame, complain, and get defensive. That's uncomfortable to hear, right? The only way you can guarantee to stay at a sales slump is to self-sabotage yourself by doing the opposite of what you know you're supposed to do. And if you're listening to this at any point today or in the future, you likely know what you're supposed to do. And if you don't, please reach out and we're happy to help you. But how do you make sure that you stay in a sales slump? Do nothing today and continue to live that same pattern of average and angry? Blame others for your problem, your lack of action. Complain about a problem instead of seeking a solution. Ben Bowman would say it all the time. I'm happy to listen to a complaint, and I'm paraphrasing, but bring me a solution and not just a complaint. Get defensive. I mean, that's an easy thing to do, right? If somebody's upset at you, angry at you, your wife says to you, where's the money? You're out there working, or at least I think you are. What's happening? You get defensive. Well, I want to blame this or complain about that, when the reality is you control the outcome. So what are you going to do? Blame, complain, or get defensive? Or achieve the dream that you set out for when you got your license? When you said to yourself, that's a six-figure opportunity. I see other people doing it. Why can't I? Tom and I went to a conference with Heartland this week, and I said to him at some point, I don't see any superheroes here. Now, I think Oz Perlman's probably an alien. If you guys look him up and watch some of his magic tricks, he might not be a human being. He might be an AI robot with some skin on him. But every single other licensed agent, vice president, integrity partner, CEO, every person I saw there was a human being. That means, as Adam would say, if he can do it, why can't I? So I'm going to review, and then I'm going to turn the mic over to Adam. How do you make money today? Put the leads together and go see the people. STP, see the people. Simple. You can see 25 people. It doesn't matter what you say. It's just by being there, someone's going to say, I need insurance. And you look respectful, and you look like you know what you're doing, and you look like you could help me get it. Call, text, or contact 25 to 30 people from your book of business. We talked about surviving COVID 5 years later on the Monday call, right? You remember that? How did I survive the first month of COVID? I contacted every client that I had, and I wrote my way through that month. Why can't you do that today? 3, introduce yourself to everybody you see. And number 4, in the presentation, shut up. Be an active listener. And remember, you have a responsibility to take that person where they want to go. And if you do it correct, they're going to get there. Adam, I'm excited today to talk about slump busting. And I'm excited every Friday to wake up seeing what you wanted to talk about, because it gives me plenty to run on to open up today's conversation. Let's talk slump busting as we take the next 15 minutes together before we transition exclusively to social media.
Hey, good morning, Chris. Good morning, everybody. Just honestly, I just kind of think sometimes about the topics and even some things that can maybe even help myself. I kind of feel like lately I've been in a little bit of a slump when it comes to production. But thinking about it, it's like, for me, a slump is not writing 5,000 in premium every week or more. A slump for me isn't like I just didn't write any business this week. Yeah, I wrote business this week, but I haven't been writing as much as what I need to be writing. So to me, that's being in a slump. So we can kind of get into that presentation and kind of talk a little bit about that too. I know talking about controlling the outcome and that, and like you said, Chris, we are who we are based on the decisions that we make. And One thing I would recommend, though, to those of you out there, especially new agents, is to be sure, whatever carriers you're writing business with, be sure to read your contracts, because there's things in those contracts that you may not even realize. I don't talk about it a whole lot. Was maybe a little afraid to talk about it for a while because I was an employee with Security National Life. And, they paid me a salary, but I also had commissions coming in. I was building renewals. I was their top sales director for, I'd say, probably 5 out of the 7 years I was there. First couple of years, I was just still kind of growing. But, did a lot of business with these guys. And come to find out, about 6 months ago, they have this clause in their contract where if your lifetime persistency falls below 65%, they take away your renewals. I still haven't found it in my contract, but they took away my renewals. And honestly, it's become a bit of a struggle, because that was a lot of money that I had coming in, that really I was using to cover my leads, to take care of other bills and things like that. So it probably affected me more than any other agent with that company, because there was more business on the books through me than anybody. They may be looking and laughing now at me, which is fine. And they're probably happy because they're saving money. But anyways, just read your contracts, because you don't want to fall into that sort of predicament. And if you're looking for a company that you want to build and grow, if you really want to depend on renewals, one thing you got to remember: final expense business, it's good business, but what are the chances of somebody's lifetime persistency staying above 65%? I watched a YouTube video not too long ago. Some pretty high up people in the final expense industry talked about how long-term, about 25% of the business is going to stay on the books. So yeah, you're going to have business that's going to make it through the first year, that's going to make it through the second year. But, long-term, you can depend on 25% of your business staying on the books. So that means you got to write a lot of business to be able to build those renewals. And for people to have that stipulation in their contract, this 65%, it's almost like they're setting people up to never have to worry about paying them renewals. And I know people that left organizations that were doing millions in premium that are now doing business over there. And I hope that I hope they're not depending on building a renewal base, because the chances of keeping that persistency above 65% is pretty slim. So, but anyways, that's just something that's been on my mind a little bit for a while, because it's on my mind a lot, when I'm out working. That's a lot of money that I've been really trying to make up to kind of stay ahead of things.
I think it's really important to recognize transparency and what people are willing to share. And when someone's willing to share transparency, what they've been through and what they struggle with to survive slumps in the business, that tells you that everyone's got it the same lived challenges themselves. Remember, we all have it just as good and we all have it just as bad. Oftentimes we say to ourselves, man, no one's ever been through this before, but everyone's been through something just as equally challenging. And the strong survive when they recognize that it's happened for me, not to me. Side note from that conversation: when it comes to reading your contract or interacting with any of the legal challenges that take place in life, please don't do it alone. We have resources. We have tax attorneys that you can speak with. We have actual accountants, not jokers that do it on the side and leave me high and dry. We have regular lawyers and a network of lawyers you can speak to, both civil and criminal. We have access to folks that specialize in the federal attorney side of things. If you're in a situation, utilize the resources you have around you to make sure that you're guided down the right approach. Kind of like when I say, Adam, if you ever receive a carrier complaint, a CMS complaint, a complaint from American Amicable, America, or anybody, reach out to us and let's make sure we read it, proofread it, and then help you send it off together, because those kind of situations can get people angry and get people terminated by not responding properly. nothing that happened to you, but I'm just saying when we
Yeah.
get in those kind of situations, don't curl up into a turtle. Like reach out and say, hey, with this zoo around me, who knows how they can help me with this situation? And sometimes the answer is there's nothing we can do but continue to tread forward. What would you say in our next couple minutes before we get into the presentation is like the overriding way that you found to get out of a slump in managing and producing yourself?
Well, for one thing, I would say, just kind of a lot of stuff I was just talking about. You kind of have to forget about all that stuff, forget about all the outside noise, and you just have to focus at the task at hand. And the presentation, I kind of get into that too, just kind of talking to, I think, a little bit about just getting back to the basics, getting back to the basics of what works, and and just trying to keep that positive mindset, keeping a positive focus on the future ahead, and not letting you can't focus on the past, you can only focus on the future. And
Can you
so
explain to me
regardless
why it
of
was
what's
snowing
happened in
in
the past,
Chicago?
yeah.
Why it snowed in Chicago and it was 60 degrees the day before that? Like, is that a normal Midwest thing? Because that would put me in a
Oh
slump
man,
mentally any day.
Chris, it's crazy. Last Friday, because I'm usually in the office on Friday. Last Friday afternoon, I cut off a little early. It was probably maybe, I don't know, 2:30, 3 o'clock. It was like almost 80 degrees here, and it's been so cold. Since before Christmas, and my Parkway trees still had the Christmas lights on them. It was too cold. I'm not going to go out there freezing my butt off. I freeze my butt off putting the lights up. I wasn't gonna, freeze again taking these lights down. So finally took the Christmas lights off the Parkway trees this past Friday. It was 80 degrees. I had shorts on, and I'm outside sweating. It was nice out. Yeah, and then just a couple days later, complete opposite. I was actually sitting outside. Tuesday, Chris? Was it Tuesday? No, Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday. I was sitting outside, and it's so crazy this time of year. Like, I bring at least 2 coats with me because when I'm out in the field, because the way that the weather is, you just never know. Every morning I'm like asking Alexa what the weather's looking like because it's so back and forth, so up and down. And
Alexa's like, Adam, I have no idea. It might rain, it
yeah.
might snow. I think there might actually be a tornado today. Either way, pack everything. I don't know.
So Wednesday, I dressed like it was spring. I wore my golf pants with a golf shirt and like a little pullover and like a lightweight spring jacket. And when I left the house, it was, I don't know, 65 degrees and warm. It even maybe felt a little warmer than 65. And I'm sitting on this guy's front porch, kind of going through a presentation with him. It was like around, I don't know, noontime, 1 o'clock. And I feel like while I was sitting out there, the temperature dropped about 20 degrees. And while I was sitting there, I'm like, hold on a minute, I'll be right back. I'm going to run back to my car. And I put on my winter coat. So, it's just, it's crazy. You just never know. Yeah. And then actually last weekend, like I said, on Friday, it was 80. On Sunday, it was snowing. It was snowing here. And then, so it's just, I don't know, maybe that messes with us a little mentally too, all the back and forth and the up and down. And the other night, Thursday night? No, when I get my days so mixed up. Wednesday night, it was, I think, it was the same day. It was the same day that I was, that I threw the winter coat on. We had really bad storms. And I was out working, and my wife called me. She's like, we're down in the basement. The tornado sirens are going off. She's checking to see where I'm at. And I'm like right in the path of like where this tornado is heading. I'm like, all right, I'll just try to keep my eye to the sky, and I'll just try to avoid it. And that's exactly what I did. I'm trying to keep my eye to the sky. I drove like right between 2 tornadoes. There was one on like each side of me. And as I'm driving down this road, my like the emergency alerts going off on my phone to seek shelter immediately.
Seek
While I'm
premium immediately.
while I'm driving, and I'm like, oh my God, like, what am I gonna do here? Like, there's nowhere to go. And but as I was driving, I felt like this big gust of like wind hit my car, and I just kept going. I was okay. I ended up finding a grocery store, and I parked like on the side of the building, so I was close, and I was fine. Let the storm pass, but yeah, it was just crazy because I could see the rotation of clouds on both sides of me, and my wife was calling me about it, and yeah, and then I saw this morning that there were tornadoes, and where they listed the cities, there were 2 tornadoes, and they were both on both sides of me. So
Yeah,
I ended up right after those storms, though. I ended up in a house and ended up writing an app, and then I wrote a Medicare. So I guess it was worth riding out the storm.
Literally. Yeah, I was in my hotel room in Missouri watching this amateur broadcast on YouTube of this storm as it was snowing when it was warm the day before. And it's like, I'm right outside Joliet right now. I can see it rotating. I'm like, oh, there goes Adam. We're going to have a new co-host on Fridays because that's it. Side note, we're going to transition in just a moment, but I want to make sure folks on Free Conference Call HD hear this. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this on social media yet. American Amicable, Adam, has 2 new products that are debuting. I don't know if everyone's going to have them, but we're going to have them very, very soon. An indexed universal life product, simplified issue, amazing. And a participating whole life product. That's pretty awesome. So for those of you listening in on Free Conference Call HD, stay tuned to announcements and training and access on your portal because you're going to have it maybe before anybody else. As I hang up on the conference call, Adam, what are your thoughts on a new American Amicable IUL and participating whole life product coming to our product portfolio any day now?
I mean, honestly, IULs, I guess that's all right. I mean, I don't really know a whole lot about them. I never really done much with IULs. I know they're popular. I know a lot of people write them, but so maybe that's something to excite some people out there. To me, I mean, I don't really care much about it. It's really not my market, I don't think. Participating whole life. I'm assuming that just means would that be more of like a simplified issue whole life with with larger face amounts?
Larger face amounts and dividend producing. So imagine the Baltimore Life A priority, that high face amount, aggressively priced policy that produces dividends. They're looking to compete in that space as well, which having a ultra competitive AM premium with high face amount options and competitive premiums and dividends, that was pretty awesome to see being announced.
Yeah, I don't feel like there's a lot of, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just don't know enough about the different products out there, but I just don't feel like there's a lot of these. Oh, I was told to check my mic.
Yeah, no, there's definitely not. Like Baltimore Life was the end all be all and only option that I could recall outside of getting fancy with maybe a Foresters I haven't written in forever. But yes, this is a very useful situation because there aren't many products like this. And you are going to encounter situations where, Miss Johnson has 2, 3, or 4 policies. You total them all up. Maybe she has American Income Life and she's been sold a policy every year for the last 10 years. I've seen it. She used to me has like $50,000, $55,000, $60,000 of coverage. And you're saying to yourself, how do I roll all these together when the max I have is 50? Well, these kind of products fill that niche, and seeing that they're going to be out on the market soon and we'll have access to them on a company that you're absolutely passionate about, I'm pretty excited about.
Yeah, I like having the larger phase whole lives. Every once in a while, you do run into that. People that are looking for larger policies. I mean, especially if you think about like the younger people. I think that if we look at like inflation, everything else, I mean, if you're writing policies on a family and someone wants to even put like their little kids in a policy, well, I mean, you want to put them in something that's going to be enough to cover expenses even down the road. I mean, I think most of the time when I'm writing a young child, I'm probably writing at least $25,000 in premium. So, and that's the thing. There's not a ton of different products out there that are like that. So, no, I like the simplified issue whole life with the larger face amounts for sure. I'm assuming underwriting will probably be a little tighter, of course, on that sort
Mhm.
of product, but there's definitely a need for it. I think, like you said, and like I said, I didn't think that there really was many products out there. The the whole life, I know American Amicable, they had the universal life, but they didn't have like a really a basic larger face whole life. So I like
No.
that. Yeah, for sure. And heck, I mean, just more competition, I guess, for other
Yeah, so it
carriers that
says
offer it.
it says on the new security solutions product, it's participating whole life point of sale decision, ages 18 to 72, coverage amounts 25,000 to 500,000, four dividend payment options, which is like lower the premium, increase the face amount, cash in hand, that kind of stuff. Aggressive cash value growth, multiple living benefit riders, and then the IUL is called Intelligent Choice. It's a creative name, right? Simplified issue IUL point of sale decision. And Adam, when I saw this product, I thought Mutual of Omaha's IULE is a very, very useful price busting product when you really got to get in there and slay the rate or combine a bunch of policies. I don't personally write a lot of Mutual. I personally know that we write a lot of American Amicable. So in that situation, it allows me to focus my business in that direction. 25,000 up to 50,000, a 20-year no lapse guarantee, and again, the normal suite of living benefit riders. So these are two pretty amazing products that'll be coming to us any day now.
Yeah, awesome. Heck, the more the merrier. Yeah, I mean, I think that, like I said, I mean, I think having a little bit of competition there is a good thing, and there's just, yeah, I mean, heck, I mean, I've always been focused on just kind of simplifying my business and focusing on one carrier. That's really kind of where I've always excelled in the business, just kind of keeping things simple. And yeah, the more one carrier has to offer, the less you got to really worry about doing business elsewhere, and the better chance you have of making the different carrier conventions and all that good stuff, kind of reaping the different benefits and rewards, rather than writing business with 20 different carriers and you never have a chance to make any sort of company trip or reap any of the additional benefits. So yeah, I mean, heck, the more the merrier. I like that for sure. So I guess we could kind of get moving into the presentation, Chris.
Let's do it. I hogged up enough of your time.
Hey, that's all right. Let's see. I think I have it on here. If it's not, I'm gonna have to load it. I thought I already had it on here, and I probably don't. Let's
That's all
see.
good. That's
Yeah,
all
we'll
good.
load it up real quick.
What else
And
did
then
I
we'll.
learn about this week while you find the
Yeah,
presentation?
yeah. Tell us a little bit about this trip you took.
Yeah, so we went out and I've been waiting to make the official announcement until the official signatures were all there. But Tom Masterson and I had a great time meeting folks like Eric Salazar, many other integrity partners over at Heartland. And one of the other resounding themes, because success leaves clues in this industry, is how there were so many sessions about cross-selling. And as Medicare gets a little bit weird in the middle of the year, there's no rules against cross-selling. So there's a lot of really exciting ancillary products out there. We write a lot of GTL. Heck, Aetna still has great cross-selling products. American Home Life has one coming to market very soon. All kinds of great cross-selling opportunities. Dental. I mean, dental is a really, earth-shattering product, right? Ooh, dental insurance. But it's a great add-on product. They mentioned that a lot. Annuities. I mean, the amount of annuity opportunities out there. I heard an annuity expert say in every 20 final expense presentations, he's able to find one annuity opportunity. It might be only 15,000, it might be 500,000, but it had me thinking of all the times I didn't ask about their retirement. Like, what do you have insuring your retirement? So, as Medicare gets a little weird in the middle of the year, why can't we ask more and more about the cross sale to ancillary or the cross sale to annuity products? I'm sure Aaron would double down on that as well. And it had me thinking, because we're really, really good at asking really good tactical warm-up questions. We're really good at asking questions that give us useful information. When somebody says they had a job and you can tell us the kind of job that had a 401k or some type of retirement package, why aren't we asking about what they're currently doing to protect those assets? So what I'm trying to say here as we wait for Adam to get back with us and get on to how to bust a slump is how else do you bust a slump is by asking good questions that get you more information. Maybe you need to get out of a slump by just making sure you're extracting premium in the home by asking these type of questions. Going through a summary of benefits and showing the person, yes, you've got the best Medicare plan. No, there may not be an opportunity to change it right now, but do you know that these copays exist for when you go in the hospital? What if I could give you something that would cover those costs so that instead of you paying it, the insurance company covers it? Those type of questions. So whenever you're ready, Adam, to pull up the presentation, we're just talking a little bit more about cross-selling, what questions to ask, and when they find the information, helping them get to the path of writing the business.
Okay. Yeah. It looks like it's loading. It'll take a minute. Sorry. Just had a little bit of technical difficulties there for a second, but
all good.
Yeah. The cross-selling, well, for me, it's really just been more the Medicare lately. I mean, the lady I talked to the other night, she was, and this was a brand new one. So this will be a full commission. So that'll be nice. I mean, that means that's like a $600 sale. She was 65. She'll be 66 in July. She just never did any sort of planning or putting any sort of plan together. She was pretty healthy. She just never really went to the doctor a whole lot. So she didn't have any sort of plan. And she didn't really see the need for any sort of plan. But when I showed her that I could get her back like $140 on her Medicare Part B, which meant more money into her pocket, she was like, well, sign me up.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah.
I mean, even though like she said, even though I don't really go to the doctor a whole lot, I mean, heck, if all I got to do is sign this here and then I get more money back into my bank account every month from my Social Security check, well, that sounds good to me. So that's what we ended up doing. I wrote her it was the Humana Give Back plan. And I think it was like maybe not that much. Maybe it wasn't that much, but anyways, I know she was getting back at least a decent amount of money from the Part B that would be coming out of her Social Security. So it's just like anything else. It just doesn't hurt to ask. What's the worst thing that could happen by asking your client while you're sitting there, how are you set up with your Medicare?
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much all of the Medicare business I've written. I haven't bought any Medicare leads. I've just worked the final expense business, and you bring it up in conversation, talk to your clients about it. And there's, like you said, several other products. Again, always just kind of been about keeping it simple and not really focusing on too many things. But yeah, for me, the final expense kind of go along with the Medicare, I think is a good fit.
Well said.
So, yeah, let's go ahead and get moving here. I don't think we're going to go too long on the presentation today, breaking out of a sales slump. And like I said, I guess, I don't know. I just thought about it when I got home last night, just because I haven't been happy with my production lately. Writing business, but just not as much as what I need to be writing. So I figured, heck, I'll go through this and maybe I can refresh my own memory of what I can do to get better. So let's talk about it. Breaking out of a sales slump. We'll talk about, what causes a sales slump. How do we break out of a sales slump? Is a sales slump self-inflicted? I think that it can be. I think that, again, so much of this business, I think, is mindset and just kind of having to stay in that positive frame of mind and not letting, like I said, letting the outside stuff get to us, not getting overwhelmed. I think for me, it's kind of like maybe I'm focusing too much on how I know how much business I need to be writing. And it's like I need to just maybe slow it down a little bit, because it's not all going to happen the first hour on Tuesday when I go out in the field. Like I want to be writing all this business, but I just got to realize, like, I just got to be patient. The business is going to come. It always has. So don't just focus on
that first hour while you're out in the field. But for me, I mean, honestly, it's just been a lot lately with not only that, I don't know. I just feel like I've been getting rejected more out in the field. Um, I don't know what it is. I don't know if there's just something in the air or what. But like
These
I said, I mean,
tornadoes are in the
yeah,
air.
it could be. It could be. I don't feel like I really change much while I'm out in the field. If anything, it is just kind of probably more of just the outside noise, and that's just the stuff that I just need to kind of get back in the right frame of mind when it comes to getting out there and writing business. Are you being consistent with running your business when it comes to ordering leads on a regular basis? I mean, personal production, that's really key. You know, we've talked about how you can't order 30 leads and wait for them to come in for 4 weeks. And then you go out and work those leads, and then you don't order another set until you've completely gone through all of them. You're not going to write nearly enough business. You got to be consistent with placing those lead orders on a regular basis. And with that, I mean, got to go out and work them. And are you working the same hours every week? Have you cut back? Have you changed things? And I don't feel like I have. I mean, I'm still out in the field, you know, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 9 a.m. till now. Really, hours are extended with the new time. Later appointments. I mean, I think the other night, I don't even think I got home until 9 o'clock at night. So, you know, definitely putting the time in, and that's important too. You know, making sure to just continue to, like I said, just kind of stay on course with things. You can't change something just on a whim when what's always worked for you has worked. I mean, we all kind of experience these sort of things. I mean, I wish I could say that every day and every week and every month just is the best month ever, but it just isn't. And if people tell you this is an easy business, they're lying to you. It's not. I mean, you got to be willing to deal with the bad and the good. And we talked about that last week too. You know, can't get too high with the highs, and you can't get too low with the lows. You just kind of have to just kind of keep going no matter what.
Yeah, I think it's important on sales slumps also to look at numbers in a broader sense, because I think because we work in a one call close environment, which is what this business is, that's the sales presentation part of the business. That's not the overall operation of your business. So a sales slump is not you had a bad day. A sales slump is not the week didn't work out the way you wanted it to. A sales slump is you can statistically look at a 6-week period and say, that's a little bit outside of my average, and then kind of drill into these things and see if there's any attributable reason why that's the case. If you're not going to work, it's not even a sales slump. You just didn't show up. I think a sales slump would be more, microcosm of I'm having trouble closing stuff that I didn't have issues with before. So activity is so important, but looking at things from a broader perspective is also key, because we kind of get so wrapped up, like you said, I want to write a week's worth of business in the first hour, when it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, most definitely. So sometimes maybe we just got to slow it down and just refocus. Are you as motivated as when you first started? That's important too. Kind of like what I just said. You can't get too down. You just kind of have to, remember, like, I don't know, I guess one thing I used to always do, Chris, when I would recruit an agent, I would always take a lot of notes of everything that they had to say when they first started, because when somebody's first getting into something is when they're really like the most excited. They're like the most motivated, just the different things that they're going to tell you, what they're going to do. And then I could always kind of go back to that, because we all kind of get to that point where unfortunately we have a bad week or we have a bad month. And I would always go back and kind of go back and remind that person, remember when we were talking about this, remember when we were talking about that, remember when you told me that, you were going to do 10,000 in premium this, every month or more. Remember when you told me, just your goals of what you intended to do in the business. Like, so maybe sometimes we just need to remind ourselves of the opportunity of what we know really could be, and kind of just use that as fuel, I guess, to just kind of keep moving forward.
Yeah. On the other side,
Yeah.
I say to folks, when you're thinking about quitting, set a timer on your phone for like 60 seconds and then put yourself in that space so that you can decide what that looks like to your family, to your wife, your husband, your kids, yourself, what other opportunities or employment you could seek, what that would look like. And I think by about the 45th second, you'd probably vomit on yourself and say, no, all right, I'm getting back out of the car. Because real life example, I was sitting across from a guy on the first leg of the trip home. I got upgraded to first class because I charge all of our leads to the same credit card. I'm not that rich. I'm sitting next to another guy in first class who I think probably travels extensively for work. And because we sat on the tarmac at O'Hare for 45 minutes waiting for our spot to open up, he missed his connection. And he missed his connection so badly to wherever he was trying to go, he wasn't going to get there until tomorrow. You know, when we think about how bad we have it, we have to remind ourselves sometimes other people in America that make the same amount of money as us have a lot bigger problems that they face. Maybe you got no-showed for your 10 o'clock, but you still got to go home at night and didn't get stuck in Chicago. So I don't know if that makes sense to anybody, but, you know, other things happen to other people, and we've got it pretty easy too.
I was in a house yesterday morning, Chris, where I asked if I could use the bathroom, and she said, "You're not going to want to. The water's not on." And I mean, you know, right there, I'm just thinking, man, you know, like you think you got it bad until you talk to someone who's got it worse. You know what I mean?
I guess you couldn't bathroom close that one.
No, I could not bathroom close that one. You know, I talked about that last week, I think, where I asked to get up to go to the bathroom so the husband and wife could talk together. So yeah, couldn't use the bathroom close on that one, but no, I mean, just, yeah, right there. I mean, and not only that, Chris, like this neighborhood that I was working, and I mean, it's a pretty rundown, not the best area neighborhood. It's been the same forever. I mean, 22 years ago when I first got into final expense and I was going out running leads, I remember like this area, it hasn't changed. Like this area, the village police quit and the county took over. It's like so bad. But I mean, almost every home I've been in, it's really sad. Almost every house I've been in, the mothers I've talked to have had a child that's been killed. And, you know, just think about that. Like, I couldn't imagine like losing one of my kids. And to think that just in this community, like it's normal to experience that, to like had lost at least one of your children. And so, you know, yeah, like I said, you know, sometimes we look at where we're at and we feel like we should be doing more and we wish things were better. We could have it a hell of a lot worse.
Yeah.
So,
and then even in those situations where you're dealing with all that tragedy and you're hearing all these stories, sometimes we have to get out of a slump by going seeing the people that need us to be there. Like if we're so slumped out on ourselves that we're slumped on the couch watching Vikings for the third time, those people, if you don't show up, who's going to insure them? And the next time tragedy, you know, comes their way, you didn't show up and they don't have insurance. That's kind of how I remind myself sometimes too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's an area that I kind of stick out like a sore thumb, I guess you could say, Chris. But people know I'm there for a reason, you know. Mm-hmm. And you know, they just know I'm there to help. I mean, yesterday, actually, a lady I was talking to, I mean, the lady whose house, you know, the water's not on. It was her birthday. And like everybody, no one cares. They're all having a good time. I mean, as I'm sitting there, you know, her family's coming over, you know, they're frying fish and stuff. And like, they're having a good time. Like, you know, they're happy with where they're at regardless. So, you know, like I said, just kind of goes to show you, you know, sometimes just can't let things get to you. You could have it a lot worse, but I mean, even people that have it worse than us, you know, we'll still find ways to make the best out of it. So
absolutely.
Let's take a look and see what else we got on here, Chris. Have you changed how you present and not even realize it? Now, that's one thing that I've noticed a lot with not really myself. I mean, I've talked about my presentation out in the field as it's so like broken record, because I've done it so often. I'm so smooth with it. Someone could say anything to me. I could, they could tell me a joke or whatever, just anything to try to distract me and try to catch me or, get me off guard or whatever, off track with the presentation. And I'm always able to get right back on track. So like for me, that's not an issue. I've done it so long that that's not an issue, but I have noticed that in the past where, where sometimes agents, they do that where maybe they don't even realize it. And I had done that in the past. And I would always go back and like look at the script that I was using. I'd maybe go back and even listen to recordings and just different things to make sure that I was kind of saying things the same way. Sometimes we in the past, I had added stuff that weren't necessary, and maybe that was what was affecting sales. So kind of like I said, going back to what works and not being afraid to just realize that maybe you are making some changes without even realizing it.
Yeah, you got to record yourself. And even if you don't share it with anybody else, because a lot of times that's people's biggest fear and why they don't do it, listen to yourself. I mean, I listened to a recording from an agent once, and Adam, he spent 25 minutes warming up with somebody, talking about their cat, not acquiring any useful knowledge about the situation, only to find out probably halfway through they didn't even have a bank account. But he was so busy about her cat, he didn't pre-qualify her. I could be just as guilty at times, falling off track and not staying on script, but I'm paying attention to what I'm saying. Sometimes people have to hit record in their pocket and then play it back later on the ride home and realize you're talking about their cat and not writing insurance.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, yeah, it's just a matter of, going back to the basics and going back to the presentation. Like I said, if you have a script that you follow, if you need one, let me know. I mean, I think that having that structure is also important. And I think sometimes agents may struggle when they don't take the time to learn a presentation, when they just go out there and wing it and it's different every time. And to me, they're probably not adding value to what they're doing. They're probably just solely focused on face amounts and rates. And if that's all you're selling on, again, the next person that comes in is just going to replace you. So you got to focus on more than that and just the things that you say. And I mean, I tell my clients all the time, what we do is unique. My clients don't cancel. And well, Chris will tell you my persistency is pretty good.
Yeah, I saw one missed payment in the last 2 years. I'm like, man, that person probably was crazy. But
yeah,
I wonder if people are writing bad business because they have an unpredictable presentation that leads to an unpredictable outcome that leads to unpredictable persistency. If you're doing the same thing every single time, just like driving from one place to the next along that same route, you know what's going to happen. But if you're saying random stuff and you're writing random business and you're working randomly, then the results are going to be just as random. So you can get out of a slump by just staying the course in your production.
Yeah. And again, like we have on here, this self-evaluation, that's just something too. I mean, I still do this when I leave a house. If I didn't make a sale, I'm going to sit there for a minute and just try to figure out, like, what did I not do right? Like, what could I had done to had walked out with a sale? And, a lot with it lately for me, Chris, is just, I don't know, just, people have been delaying, putting it off, just not ready yet. And, I push as much as I can in the house, but sometimes it's just, there's nothing else you can do. So, but again, I think a lot of it is just, going back and evaluating, what could I have done differently? What could I have said maybe to be able to push that person to move forward? Because once you leave that house, I'd say there's probably about a 99% chance you're never going to see that person ever again. There's about a 1% chance you might do business. Honestly, follow-ups in this business are pretty slim. So, you got to write the business while you're there. Chances of a second visit, highly unlikely.
No, second visit is when you're adding on coverage, not trying to make up for the fact that you couldn't close them the first time.
Yes. Revisit your goals. like I said, in your mindset, think about the amount of business that you want to do for the week, and yeah, focus on that. And like I said, maybe I just need to slow it down a little bit and not try to write 6,000 in premium at 9 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday. Because, but, and then, yeah, I let it get to me because I think, Tuesday, I don't think I wrote anything. And when I don't write any business, I'm not a very happy person, boy. I mean, I come home and my wife can tell, she can tell that I'm pretty pissed off. But that's just because I know I need to be writing business. I almost feel like I let my family down when I come home without anything. So, I got to do what I can to be writing business. But yeah, revisit your goals, focus on the goals, break the goals down into smaller goals. So, maybe, when I say I want to write 6,000 in premium for the week, rather than focusing on writing all that in the first hour at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, I need to break that down into smaller numbers. Okay, well, let's see. How much do I need to do on Tuesday? How much do I need to do on Wednesday? How much do I need to do on Thursday? Well, 2,000 a day in premium. Honestly, for me, I don't really feel like that's that difficult when you're out there spending the whole day out in the field. So really, break it down into smaller numbers. 2,000 in premium. You can break that down into I was going to say that's 500 in monthly premium for the week.
Yep. It's 2.3 applications per day.
Okay.
So two apps and then a child whole life, or 2 apps and a cancer policy. Like, you got to write 2 applications and change per day to hit that trend. And I think sometimes when we get wrapped up in trying to achieve something that's hard to achieve, we got to break that goal back down even further. And getting out of a slump isn't done by one foul swoop. It's done by one application at a time. So I've given countless trainings before where the training was simply meant for me and other people got to listen to it. But I like how you're dissecting the concept and the practical application with it as well.
Yeah. And again, breaking these numbers down, the way I used to do it, Chris, when I would be out in the field 5 days a week, I would always focus on, when I first got in the business, I focused on 3,000 in premium a week. And then I decided that I should double it. So 3,000 in premium a week, all I had to do Monday through Friday was one $50 a month application Monday through Friday. So 5 $50 applications. To me, that's nothing. Like, that should be pretty easy to do. $50 a month. And these days, majority of the premiums are higher than that.
Mm-hmm.
Very seldom I even writing something. Like the other day, I think I wrote one for like $30 a month. And that's a rarity. Very seldom am I writing something that small these days. I mean, my average premium, I bet, is probably closer to $70 to $80 a month, I bet. So these days, I think it's even easier. And that's just because, too, the cost of things, people realize they need more coverage. I mean, my average face amount back in the day was $10,000, but that's when it cost $6,000 to bury somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now, it's going to cost $15,000 to bury somebody, probably, at least. So people realize that they need more coverage and they're willing to pay a little bit more to make sure that they have enough. So I think these days it's even easier to hit those large numbers. Now, when I went to 6,000 in premium, then I realized, all right, I got to write $100 a month app Monday through Friday. So $100 a day, Monday through Friday. If I hit it by Friday, I'm going to take off on Saturday. And if I don't, I'm going to be out all day Saturday working to hit the goal. So that's just kind of the goals and the mindset and again, pretty easy to break it down like that. Even a brand new agent, like, if you're thinking that it's difficult to write 3,000 in premium your first week, break it down. That's $250 a monthly premium.
Mm-hmm.
You could do that. Heck, we had a guy, Chris, I saw the numbers. The guy wrote like 5,000 on one guy or something. Like, that's crazy.
He had like 9,000 in premium coming off of Monday, and relatively great quality business. I'm not seeing his name coming up on reports. I'm not seeing emails from the carrier asking, should we terminate this person? Because they're watching nowadays even more than normal.
Scary.
Yeah. Persistency is so crucial to them, but how you get out of a slump is working your way out of a slump. You talked about working on a Saturday. If an agent had a job and they didn't have enough money, they would work overtime or a second job or accept that's what they live with. So we have to say to ourselves, if we're trying to make more money, maybe we have to work more hours. That's some of the best ways to get out of a slump that I've seen.
Yeah, and we've already talked about this a little bit already, Chris, evaluating and improving our sales process. Going back and figuring out what's working and what's not and making adjustments. Improving product knowledge. Hopping on our trainings even. Agents, I think, can pick up a lot of ideas and learn a lot. Heck, the more you know, the better you get. It definitely, I think, helps as well in the home. If you're stumbling around trying to figure things out on a whim, you don't look good. To me, that doesn't give your prospect a lot of confidence. If if you're shuffling around trying to figure out how to get into an e-app, if you're shuffling around trying to figure out how to put rates together, if they're asking you questions and you don't really know, when I first got in the business, I used to call my manager all the time, and people respected that. If they had a question, I was like, you know what, I'm not really quite sure. Let me call my manager real quick. And I'd call my manager, and throw it at them. And people appreciate you taking the time to do that to get them the right answer rather than just making something up. Yeah. But yeah, do what you can to get better and improve your business, improve your mindset, improve your product knowledge. And it's just going to make you better, and you're going to look better in the home too.
Kyrie is doing exactly that. He's improving your product knowledge could also mean selling less companies. Like, I'm not saying go captive to one. I'm saying simplify your portfolio as much as you can so you can improve the knowledge on what you have. And then, as you're saying, call from the home. Kyrie has called countless times the last several weeks. Why is he approaching the top 20 leaderboard of that particular carrier? Because he's calling in addition to all the other things he's doing properly. So improve your product knowledge by selling less stuff and calling more often.
Yeah, and sometimes, heck, you could call your manager. Maybe your manager can even help you work your way through the sale. Mm-hmm. But like I said, clients just appreciate you taking the time to get them the right answer. These days, I never have to call. I pretty much know the answer when they have a question for me. But again, don't hesitate to reach out to your upline and ask for help and get the answers that your clients need. Referrals, again, referrals, and then also policy holders. You talked about that earlier, Chris, going back to your book of business. And that's something, we've talked about too. I think, like, if you're having one of those days where you're just maybe in a small slump for the day, maybe you're not writing as much business as what you would have liked. And for me, it's almost like crunch time where it gets to be 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. And I know I only got a couple more hours of daylight where I'm just going to do whatever I can to figure out who can I go to try to make a sale before I go home. And that's usually when I'm going to go through my policyholder list and see the area that I'm currently working and who can I go see real quick that maybe I can add some coverage, or maybe there might even be somebody else in their home that just happens to be visiting that day that also could use a policy. You just never know what you're going to run into. So policyholders, referrals, you could go to your policyholders and get those referrals. Again, these are just little things that, I don't know, rather than going home without anything, heck, if I could go find a policyholder and get even a small little app, I'm going to feel a lot better than completely striking out for the day. Cold door knocking. It's not fun. It's hard, but being broke's harder. If there's a will, there's a way. And, and I've done this in the past. I'd pick out a neighborhood and just cold door knock. The one thing to remember, especially when you're working direct mail leads, majority of the people in that neighborhood also received a lead card. So maybe they didn't fill the thing out, but more than likely they probably got one. And you can door knock that whole neighborhood. I've done it. I've even shown them other people's lead cards. This is your neighbor down the street. She sent one of these cards back and was wondering why you hadn't sent yours back yet. I just figured while I was out here, maybe I could help you too. There's so many different ways to do it. But it works. You never know what's going on the other side of that door. I've cold door knocked before when I knocked on the door and the people just got home from a funeral. Like it's on their mind. They were just thinking about this. And like, they were like, wow, I can't believe you're just here. Or that you just happen to show up at my house and we were just talking about this. It happens. These aren't just stories I'm making up. It definitely happens, but put the time in. It's good exercise too. Like I said, and just back to the basics, back to the basis of what works, just get back out in the field or however you're selling. And there's no need to completely change everything when things have worked for you. So,
No.
And if you need help, ask. I think that's one thing too. Maybe sometimes people in sales are afraid to ask for help. People maybe even have egos. People in sales, lots of people that are selling, they have egos. They want everyone to think that they're just the best, and they don't. They're afraid to admit when maybe they need help. So don't be afraid to seek help and ask when you need help. Find a mentor, find somebody that knows the business. And I think I talked about this a few weeks ago too, though. Don't seek help from people that aren't better than you. Don't seek help from people that aren't going to make you better. And, I've taken advice from too many people probably in the past that got in my head too much that weren't better than me. So I think that, that's one thing in this business too. There's so many different opinions out there of, what works and what doesn't. And you know what? There's people that have been very successful in many different ways of doing this business. And what works for one person might not work for another person. So there's several different ways that you can become successful and wealthy in this business. But yeah, find help or seek help from those that are better than you, not the other way around. Be involved with a group of agents that are willing to share and help one another and keep each other on track. This can be a lonely business. And if you're out there all on your own, I think many times those are the people that maybe have that bad week and they don't make it. They're in and out of the business because they don't have that support and that help. And that's the one thing that I like, Chris, with like your morning call, and that it is almost like a support group. It's a group of people that kind of are all in it together. They kind of have that same goal and that same task in mind, or that task at hand of what they want to do and where they want to get. And I think when people have a bad week, we're there to be able to pick people up a little bit and kind of keep them on track. So It makes a difference. It definitely does. Because like I said, when it can be very lonely out there. And for those of you that maybe are going through that and you don't have people to turn to for help, all you got to do is seek it and ask.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've seen people do when they enter not just a slump, but the death spiral, because they're two different things. Everyone goes through slumps. Adam's slump is he's not, hitting 500 as a baseball player. His slump is is normal for most people. But sometimes people slump and then they go from here and they start entering the death spiral where their career comes to a tragic conclusion. And one of the first hallmarks of the death spiral is people stop engaging with those around them. And then they get stuck in this negative loop because they don't have any positivity going back into them. And then it's just deeper and deeper and deeper in debt. And before you know it, they're writing their sister 3 times with 4 companies. And before you know it, it's them and their mom. And then before you know it, they're committing fraud and forgery, and then they're gone. So the very beginning sign of somebody screaming, I need help, but they're not able to say it, is them going dark. So just ask for help. We're here to help. And then when you get the help, freaking do something with it. Like, there's nothing more frustrating as somebody in our position than telling everyone what they need to do to get where they're trying to go, and they don't do anything with the information.
Yeah, most definitely. So, that's about all I got for today. You can check out unitylifegroup.com/careers. Feel free to reach out to me. Same thing. If you need help, I'd be more than happy to help you, work with you, see what we can do to to kind of get you on the right track. And then, just the different ways of getting in touch with me, adambersan.com, YouTube, the Adam, my own channel, and then also the Insurance Life and Everything in Between YouTube channel, as well as the podcast and all that other good stuff. Like I said, we got a lot of stuff to help agents and just kind of keep people on the right track, whether you're with us or not. So, feel free to reach out and, we'll do what we can to help. So if you got anything else, Chris, before we sign off today?
The only way out of a slump is to go straight through it and come out the other end successful.
Yeah, that's it, and like I said, we talk about the self-evaluation and just, evaluate where you're at and where you want to get, and, figure out what you're doing, if it's working or if it's not. If what you're doing is working, but you're still not where you need to get, I mean, I don't know. I guess got to figure it out. So, but feel free to reach out if you need help. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. Thanks again.
Take care.